Welcome back. Let's continue here now. The Department of Education in KwaZulu-Natal says it's ready for the reopening of schools for the new year. All public schools in the province are expected to open next week Wednesday, whilst a number of private schools opened this week. Now, let's discuss this. We are now joined by KwaZulu-Natal Education spokesperson Muzi Mahlambi. Mr. Mahlambi, thank you so much for your time this afternoon. Now, we saw several schools in the province destroyed, especially during the July unrest of 2021, as well as just recently the storms that destroyed some 186 schools. How ready is KZN for the 2022 academic year?
We derive our confidence of saying that we are ready for the opening of the school from a plethora of meetings that we have had, the last one being on the 13th of January that was chaired by the MEC, where we look at 10 focal points. Amongst them was what you are talking about, the infrastructure, where we had storm damaging 186 of our schools during December. And out of those 90 will need mobile classroom, about 288 mobile classroom, and 23 of those schools are worse damaged. We have put up a plan to meet the challenges come tomorrow when educators open, and subsequently the learners when they come on the first day, which is the 19th. Other things that we spoke about was the staffing of schools in terms of having adequate educators. You recall that last year we had a problem due to budget cuts, but with the intervention of the Premier and his cabinet, we were then able to recruit educators. We have since converted 643 educators were employed on a contractual basis into permanency, and we have filled in a promotional post of about 2,661 posts. When it comes to school nutrition, we are ready with all service providers being up to date with their payments. And when we scan the environment, all service providers have indicated being ready to provide nutrition when we open. And when it comes to school nutrition, to scholar transport, we are also combat ready with the operators having been engaged. About 85 of them with 67,000 learners that are benefiting. And in the next financial year, we are looking at adding another 3,500 of the learners. So on those basis, we are very much confident that the plan that we have is the one that we then base our state of readiness.
In terms of the plan that you speak of, NAPTOSA recently commented on just how ready, the department will be come Wednesday. Now, you are mentioning that you have plans in place. Talk to us about what these entail, because we know that of the areas that have been hard hit by the storms, and also just about the unrest, several schools in Pietermaritzburg were badly damaged. In fact, the union says that it will be sending a school readiness survey to get information regarding, just some of the plans that you have by Wednesday. Are you really confident that the plans will mean that a child is seated at a desk and ready to receive their education?
Starting with the question of unions, just this afternoon at 4 o'clock, the MEC will be meeting all the unions together with the HOD and governing body association and other stakeholders that we work with at the provincial level in the province of KwaZulu-Natal, where we'll be presenting our state of readiness plan And coming back to your question of what are we going to do with these schools, like we have indicated that there's going to be a provision of the mobile classes, and delivery has already started. But in areas where we shall not have reached in terms of delivery come Wednesday, we take comfort in the sense that learners are still rotating. But by end of January, all the deliveries shall have been done. But in the meantime, since not all learners come to school at a go, we have done an assessment, even though there are damages, but there is adequate space to accommodate learners every day when they come to school.
One of the issues that you raised that was of concern for the Department of Education in KZN was that, the lack of teachers and educators that are, employed on a permanent basis. And you've also mentioned that you've actually recruited some educators. But what does this mean, given what the MEC of Education said just recently about budget constraints for the department? I mean, he mentioned that the department's budget was cut by more than 6 billion rands last year, crippling programs, saying that you need 1.3 billion rands to avoid retrenchment of teachers.
It means that this year we're starting on a solid footing. Unlike last year, almost 3/4 of last year, we could not hire educators. But this year, as we start, situation is different. You are correct to point out that there were budget cuts and the figures that you are mentioning. But we have indicated that the Premier of KwaZulu-Natal intervened in the situation. Hence, we find ourselves in a position where we could hire educators, like we have indicated, and those on a promotional basis. But it's a commitment that the provincial cabinet has done to say, as and when there is a vacancy that needs to be filled at the level of the school, we should be able to do so. And we have a recruitment HR app that educators, more especially the process will be started by the school principal, where he logs in and indicates that there's a vacancy at that particular school.
One of the issues that have come out, at the back of the school's opening is the standard of education in township and rural areas, particularly the quality of education in those schools versus the quality of education that you might find or is perceived to be better at suburban ones. What's your comment as the Department of Education in KZN in terms of the quality of education in those areas that is being questioned?
We are aware of such sentiments, and we have also done our baseline research on the matter. That is why then when we enroll whatever or roll out any program, we prioritize our rural and township schools, not neglecting other schools in other sectors. But it's a matter that is being addressed, and there are programs that are specific, aiming to address such challenges.
Mr. Mahlambi, thank you so much for your time this afternoon. Really do appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Muzi Mahlambi is a spokesperson there for the Department of Education in KZN.